Hey, Unpacking It podcast listeners. It's Bryce Johnson, and I'm so glad to be with you today. And I know we have taken a break from the podcast for the last month or so, dating back to the Christmas season, but I've got good news. We are back, and I'm excited to announce that we have a new format for 2023. That's right. Over the last month or so, God has been leading and guiding us, and we've been discussing kind of changes and what this new show and new year looks like for Unpacking It Ministries and specifically the Unpacking It podcast. And I am excited for you to hear the new version of the show. And just to give you a little insight into kind of the thought process and what we're trying to do, here's what you can count on. Each week, we are going to bring you at least one episode that is very focused. It's a little bit shorter than what you've been used to, but we will always relate big sports stories to life and biblical truth. And so this is going to be about a 30-minute show, and we had been doing the live show on Mondays. That was a longer show. We went a lot of different directions on that show. It was a ton of fun. We loved the feedback and response from you as a listener. And really where we're at now though is we just want to be obedient to the Lord, and we want to make the main thing the main thing. And so here at Unpacking It, our mission is to challenge, encourage, and inspire sports fans to follow Jesus and become more like him. And so with a shorter show, that means we're not going to spend quite as much time on some of the sports stories and that kind of thing. But the good news is there will still be a place for you to hear some of those conversations, be a part of those conversations. And one of those ways is during our fellowship call on Wednesdays. We call it the Unpacked Lunch. So if you ever want to be a part of that, it's sports fans from around the country having conversations about sports, faith, and life. And then also, we're going to ramp up a Discord channel on the Discord app where we can have kind of ongoing conversations with you about the big stuff going on in sports and during games and all that kind of thing. So that's going to be where we shift our attention. And so when it comes to this podcast, the Unpacking It podcast, it's going to be similar to what you were used to during the live show, where we would take that week's devotional, unpack it, and provide parallels and metaphors that relate sports to life and biblical truth. And so that's just going to be our main. That's the show. That's what the show is now. Instead of it being in the middle of the show, now it's the whole show. And so we hope that you will love this. We hope that on some of those weeks where you looked at the podcast come in and you're like, hour and 15, I don't have time for that today. You're going to see it come through. It'll be under 30 minutes or right around 30 minutes. And you'll go, all right, I got to make time for that because it'll challenge, encourage, and inspire you to follow Jesus and become more like him. And so that's our heart here at Unpacking It. And so we're really excited about it. The first one is going to launch really soon, shortly after you listen to this probably. And so, same podcast feeds, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. It'll still it'll premiere on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of those platforms as well. So however you used to listen to this podcast, you can continue to do that. And we are excited to announce we have joined Fig Tree TV. And so they are going to be carrying the video version of our show. And so we're excited to team up with them. And we're also excited about the potential and some of the conversations that we've had with other platforms and partners and other ways that the show is going to be distributed and delivered to sports fans. And so again, the main thing is the main thing. We want to talk about Jesus. We want to encourage one another, but we're still going to talk sports. It'll be just very focused. That's the key word here. And just shorter and clearer in what we're doing here at Unpacking It. Now, the next question: what about the guest interviews? Oh boy, get excited about this. They are going to now be invited to join us for the conversation about what we're unpacking. And so it'll be Luke is going to be my co-host, and he'll be on the majority of the shows. Then we'll have some shows where we'll have a third guest. It may be me and another guest and different partnerships type of thing. But it's going to be great. And so some of our favorite guests over the last 10 years that we've interviewed, now we're going to be able to have more of a conversation with them, get their insight on a specific sports story and how it relates to their own life, but then also their perspective on the biblical truth and how that has impacted their life and how that has played out in their own life and how they've grown in their own faith. So we're really excited about the new format, and I hope that you'll listen. You'll offer us feedback. We'll continue to make tweaks and hopefully make it even more just effective, enjoyable, and something that you look forward to each week. Something that you're willing to share with others. Something that you're willing to rate, review, and help us. Let's continue to grow Unpacking It as God leads and guides us, and so that's where we're heading here in 2023, and we trust God with the details. And so it's always tricky to make changes, but here's the reality: we started Unpacking It officially in 2012 as a radio show on one station in Boston. We syndicated the radio show. We were on a bunch of stations. We were on a sports network, and there were different iterations of that show over the last 10 years. In 2019, we pulled off radio. We went podcasting. We added the video piece. And so we've been making changes over the years, not changes just to make changes, but we've, as God leads, as technology changes, culture changes, we've tried to adapt while keeping the focus on, okay, how do we encourage sports fans? How do we challenge sports fans? How do we point sports fans to Jesus? How do we use, whether it's sports talk, whether it's interviews, but now we're focused more on the devotional piece. That's where we're at. And so all of those iterations of this show have had their season, have had their place, and this is just the new season. This is where we're at right now. And so we'll see where it goes from here and what other platforms are able to carry the show, and we may end up back on radio. And so that's a possibility. We'll see what doors open up. So a lot of excitement here at Unpacking It, and we're thankful that you're a part of it. For those of you that support our ministry financially, we thank you. You make this possible. And if you would like to support our ministry, be a part of our team, we encourage you to do that, especially with the year just getting going. So check out unpackingit.com/donate. So thanks to you for being a great listener, and would love to hear from you, Bryce at unpackingit.com. And here we go. The new era of the Unpacking It podcast as we relate big sports stories to life and biblical truth each week with you. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.